March 28, 2013, at the Game Developers Conference, Jay Wilson, the man who directed Diablo 3, one of the biggest PC launches the platform had ever seen, stands in front of a room of his peers and says the marketplace his game shipped with really hurt the game. His words, roughly, he thinks they would turn it off if they could. He's talking about a feature Blizzard built on purpose and sold as safe and convenient. A pair of auction houses where players traded loot, one running on the game's gold and one on actual real-world money, which raises the question this whole story answers. Why would a studio build these marketplaces inside its flagship game, sell them as a favor to players, and then, a year later, tear them both out? To feel the size of that admission, you have to know what a Diablo game is actually for. Strip away the story, the classes, the demons, and you are left with one loop. You kill monsters. Monsters drop loot. Some of that loot is better than what you are wearing, so you get a little stronger. So you can kill bigger monsters who drop better loot. That is the entire engine. The real reward is the finding. The moment an item you did not have an hour ago drops on the ground in front of you. Diablo 3 shipped that loop on May 15, 2012, and people came for it in numbers almost no PC game had seen. Blizzard reported around 3.5 million copies sold in the first 24 hours, and that figure did not even count the roughly 1.25 million players who came in through a World of Warcraft annual pass deal. Counting those, the first day audience was north of 4.5 million. By the end of the year, the company reported more than 12 million copies sold. Blizzard knew millions of people were about to grind for gear. Whenever a game has valuable items, a shadow economy grows around it. Third-party sellers, gold farmers, sketchy websites where you hand over a credit card and hope your account does not get stolen or banned. Blizzard looked at that mess and said, in effect, we can do this better and safer ourselves. So back on August 1st, 2011, before the game was even out, they announced not one marketplace, but two. There would be a gold auction house where you traded gear for the game's own currency, and there would be a real money auction house where the price tag was in actual dollars. You could list a sword you found, a stranger could buy it with a real card, and the proceeds, minus a cut, were yours. The exact fees were region-specific and shifted over time. So take the United States as the example. Selling a weapon or piece of armor carried a flat fee of about $1, while stackable commodities like gems and crafting materials were charged 15% of the sale. And if you wanted your earnings as real cash rather than store credit, you could route them to PayPal, where roughly another 15% came off the top. Two honest caveats. Those were transaction fees, not Blizzard's profit. And Blizzard never released a total for the money that moved through the real money house. So any grand figure you have seen is an estimate, not an official number. Diablo 3 came with a catch baked in from the first second. It was always online. You could not play it alone on your couch with the internet off. Blizzard gave several reasons for that, and protecting this economy was one of them, since an item you can duplicate offline is worthless the moment it hits a real money shop. But policing the market was only ever part of it. Alongside things like unified characters and the studio's online first design philosophy, whatever the reasons, on launch day, the servers folded. Millions tried to log in at once and hit a message that became a punchline. Error 37, the servers are busy, try again later. People who had waited years for this game sat refreshing a login screen, and the marketplace was not even ready yet. The real money house was delayed past launch and then rolled out in stages, opening in the Americas on June 12th, 2012, and in Europe a few days after that, region by region, category by category, with some places, like South Korea, never getting the cash side at all. An open marketplace does something to that loop. Picture two players after the same weapon. One grinds for an evening, and if the drops are kind, walks away with a single upgrade. The other opens the auction house, sorts by price, and buys the exact weapon they want in under a minute. Roughly the same result, and only one of them played the game to get there. Those exact numbers are illustrative, but the dynamic they show is real, and it was the very thing the developers had started to worry about. The cash controversy tends to bury a deeper problem. It was not really the real money that hollowed out the loop. A lot of it was the searchability. When the upgrade you want is sitting in a search bar, buying it beats hunting for it for a lot of players, and the thrill of the find quietly loses its point. And that was just as true in the Gold House, with no real money involved at all. Wilson would later say he thought the Gold Auction House was actually the more damaging of the two. By Blizzard's own later estimate, nearly every player had gone into one of the houses at least once. The engine still ran, For a lot of people, the payoff at the end of it had gone flat, which is what put Jay Wilson in front of that GDC room on March 28, 2013. He did not soften it, and he backed it with numbers. Rough, approximate figures from the stage, not audited metrics. By his estimate, more than half of players were using a house regularly. Whichever way you cut it, for an enormous share of players, a store had become part of how they played a game that was built on the hunt for loot. The studio was also boxed in, and Wilson has described the bind in the years since. The houses had been a marketed, shipped part of the product. You cannot quietly delete something you advertised and shipped as a headline feature. There sat the director of a wildly successful game telling a room of developers that a headline feature was a mistake and that walking it back would be hard. Blizzard's actions were already pointing the same way. On September 3rd, 2013, Diablo 3 arrived on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and those console versions shipped deliberately with no auction house at all, gold or real money, and with full offline play. No servers to beg for entry, no marketplace, just killing monsters for loot on your couch. The PC team had been signaling a rethink for months already, in a public itemization blog back in March, and in Wilson's GDC talk. But the console design showed what Diablo looked like without the store, and it played just fine. The official word came on September 17th, 2013. Production director John Haidt posted it plainly. Both auction houses, gold and real money, would be shut down. And the reason he pointed to was the loop. The auction house, he wrote, quote, ultimately undermines Diablo's core gameplay. Kill monsters to get cool loot. That one line is the whole story. The company that built the store said, on the record, that the store was undermining the loop it had built the entire game on. The closure was set for March 18th, 2014. This is where the honest version and the cynical one part ways. There is a recurring theory that Blizzard deliberately tuned drop rates low to push you toward the real money house, and the primary record actually cuts against it. Before launch, the developers said the game's drop rates and balance assumed players would not use the auction house at all. What went wrong was subtler than a scheme. A poorly tuned loot system and a frictionless market collided in the live game in a way that made buying feel smarter than playing. That is a design failure. Alongside the shutdown, Blizzard was overhauling the loot itself. On February 25, 2014, a free patch, 2.0.1, began rolling out, starting in the Americas. Its centerpiece was a redesign nicknamed Loot 2.0. Among other changes, drops could now be biased toward your class, item rolls were reworked, and legendaries were overhauled, so the gear you found was more likely to be worth using. A month later, on March 25th, came the paid expansion, Reaper of Souls. Blizzard tied these together in the shutdown post, writing that closing the houses, along with the Loot 2.0 system being developed alongside Reaper of Souls, would make for a much more rewarding game. But the sequence is the tell. The free loot fix landed February 25th. The houses did not close until March 18th. The expansion arrived March 25th. These were coordinated moves scheduled to land together March 18th, 2014. Bidding, buyouts, and new listings all stopped. The marketplace that had been sold as the safe, convenient future of trading stopped working as a market. It did not vanish outright, though. A window stayed open, so players could go into their completed tab and pull out any gold or items still sitting there, unsold or unclaimed. That reclaim window ran until June 24th, 2014. After that, Blizzard removed what was left, and anything not collected was gone. So walk back through what actually happened, because it is stranger than a greed story. By their own account, Blizzard built the auction houses for the opposite of a trap, to pull players away from the sketchy third-party sellers and account thefts of the outside market, and to make trading safe and easy. And in that narrow sense, they worked, but the convenience carried a cost nobody had priced in. A marketplace that hands you the upgrade you were supposed to go find, quietly removes the reason to go find it. Fixing that took more than a patch note. The loot redesign was part of it, but the market itself had to be reversed as a product decision. A studio standing up in public and saying its own well-marketed, well-meant feature had eaten the thing that made the game fun, then pulling it out in stages over months. The most dangerous features are rarely the malicious ones. Sometimes they are the helpful ones, delivering exactly the convenience they promised.